The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host, Robert Winfrey. Yay!
Guys, I don't know what we're going to do tonight. I mean, I know what we're supposed to be doing, but for the first time in maybe a really long time, I'm not entirely sure how we get there. Because
it's one thing to talk about a sequel. It's another thing to talk about what is basically the same movie that we already reviewed.
Yeah. So Mark's here, Alexis is here, and we're talking about Wicked for Good.
Wicked, wow, happy face, never seen me smile. Insane in the membrane. That was highly edited, white people. Wicked for Good, also known as Wicked Part 2, also known as Wicked, the other one, is a 2025 American musical fantasy film directed by Jon M.
Allegedly.
And written by Winnie Holzman and Dana Fox. The sequel to Wicked in 2024, it adapts the second act of the 2003 stage musical by Stephen Schwartz and Holzman, which was loosely based on literature's greatest monster, Gregory Maguire's 1995 novel.
Gregory Maguire is not E.L. James. He is therefore not literature's greatest monster.
Thank you.
Modern monster. A reimagining of L. Frank Baum's 1900 novel.
I could throw in the person who wrote that terrible Minotaur milking book if you'd rather.
The Wonderful Wizard of Robert Winfrey and its 1939 film adaptation. Ariana Grande and her.
What's left of her?
Yeah, I'm trying to make a joke here. I was just like, and her, I don't know, her shadow, I guess. Cynthia Erivo, Jonathan Bailey, Ethan Slater, Bowen Yang, Michelle Yeoh. Jeff Goldblum returned from the first film, set in the land of Oz, and during the events of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The film explores the relationship between Alphabet Soup and Glinda. And they embrace their new identities as the Wicked Witch of the West and Glinda for Good. They're doing a solo, Robert. They're doing a Han Solo. Here's the origin story of how Dorothy got her shoes, and here's the origin story of how we got a broom, and here's the origin. Oh God. Anyway, I was reading a wiki.
Yes, you were.
Wicked for Good premiered at the Suhai Music Hall at Sao Paulo on November 4th, 2025. It premiered in the U.S. on November 17th at the Lincoln Center in New York City. With a wider release in the U.S. on November 21st, it received mixed reviews from critics and has grossed $223 million worldwide on a budget of $150 million. More on that in, God help me, I hope, an hour. So, hey, Alexis, a couple of things.
Hey, Mark. Yes.
So you talk to people. I can't ask Robert this question. He lives underground with the mole people.
But I'm sorry, I didn't know that's what we were calling the Church of Latter-day Saints now.
Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Thank you.
I hate you both. But you talk to
come
people.
Come on, we have a secret tunnel. There's one under every temple.
I just said that,
women
and you gave me looks. I said you live with the mole people, and then 2 seconds after you shame me. We're like, we have secret tunnels with Harriet Tubman. I'm like,
no. This is. I wish I was joking about this, but as recently as 2 years ago, I had someone tell me that there's a tunnel under the temple in London. I forget which one it was in the UK, but it's in England. And all the women who convert are put in this tunnel, and it comes out in the temple in Salt Lake, and that's where all the women come from.
That's amazing. Hey,
in
Alexis.
the year of our Lord, 2023.
Wonderful. They're dry. Hey, Alexis.
Hey, Mark.
So, in your vast and sundry experience with the people who speak, is there much excitement this year for Wicked? Because I feel like last year the women, like the Munchkins in Oz after Dorothy dropped a house on the Wicked of the East, came out wherever they were, and all went to the one movie they saw last year, which was Wicked. This year, and maybe it's because I don't leave the house, I'm not getting the same level of excitement in the air for Wicked for Good. What say you?
I'm not getting the same excitement either. I mean, part of it is the fact that so the stage musical, most people would agree that the most popular song
I'm going to be popular.
Are in the first act. That's when you have Defying Gravity and yes, Popular. Those are the ones that everyone remembers. Those are the ones that you hear at Broadway karaoke and stuff like that.
Sure.
So, and I actually admitted that when we reviewed Wicked Part 1, I said this is going to have a lot of, pretty big shoes to fill in because a lot of people don't really remember most of the second act of Wicked. They remember the first act.
Almost none of it. I remembered because I saw Wicked, as I said last year, on Broadway in New York City around 2000, I guess 3 or 4. Somebody made a WMD joke in the musical. Aged like milk was wonderful.
Oh, someone had made an Idina Menzel joke when I saw it at the Fox Theater in St. Louis because you have the scene where, obviously, Idina Menzel originally played Elphaba on Broadway, so you have the scene where Glinda is yelling at her to let Dorothy out of the well, wherever the hell she's put her. And basically says you need to
down there with the baby that was down the well too. Just like how did we all get here?
Yeah, and Glinda tells her you need to let it go, and the audience just went nuts.
All right. So you're saying not as much excitement this year as last year.
Honestly, the movie that I hear everyone talking about, the one that's actually getting the sing-alongs, is still K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yeah.
Robert, do you remember what last year's opening weekend box office was off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head. They're probably fairly comparable, would be my hunch.
I'll look it up. Hang on.
Yeah, it's going to do that because I'm actually wondering if we can measure in dollars if there's been a fall off from last year to this year.
Let's see. Pre-production, filming, blah, blah, blah.
Wicked Part 1 opened November 2024 with a domestic box office gross of approximately $114 million. Worldwide box office, $226 million.
Okay, so only a $3 million drop off.
Yeah, so about the same. Yeah, again, comparable.
All right. I guess, like I said, still just about equally successful, but like I said, I don't hear as much chatter. You're not hearing as much chatter. So let's just get into it. Unless, you wanted to talk. We were talking before the show started. I'll address this really quickly. I'm going to talk at length tomorrow about how the musical did not take the book's intention and translate it at all. It went its own direction, and Jon M went in a other direction further from what the musical was. Which left me feeling a little frustrated with this movie because I was trying to figure out, is this as dumb as I think it is? And is this what the author intended? And apparently it's not. And I'll just deal with all that tomorrow. But you were starting to say, Alexis, and I wanted to let you finish. There's a lot of liberties with the musical taken from the book.
There are, and it's actually kind of hilarious. Wizard of Oz is public domain, but the MGM classic is not. So it's like the Winnie the Pooh argument. Winnie the Pooh, as long as he doesn't have a red shirt on, you can have him do whatever the hell he wants. It's how you get blood and honey and the rest of us cursing the day we were born. So when the book was written, the author said he was not using the MGM movie. He was using Baum's original story, which he has every right to. But people, it's hilarious because this is something that everyone noticed and yet no one did anything about, because in the original book, the Wicked Witch of the West is not green. That was an addition for the MGM movie because it was a big Technicolor,
They were literally
also,
just showing off Technicolor.
Yeah, that's why the slippers are ruby.
There's not a translation from farmhands to characters in Oz. That was also an invention of the movie.
It was that, yeah. It's to lend the idea of maybe it was a dream because she's seeing. It's to leave the fantasy ambiguous. Exactly. But yeah, I mean, again, that's why the slippers in the MGM movie are ruby. In the books, they are silver. But again, MGM said, we got colored cameras. Why are we just going to have silver shoes? And then they made the gaudiest props in the history of mankind.
Still some of the most valuable and sought after.
No kidding. Let's hope the Smithsonian has better security locks than the Louvre does.
All right. Robert, just get into the plot really quick. Let's speed run this thing.
Yeah, so this picks up about where the previous one left off.
Elphaba has joined ISIS. Just kidding. Keep going.
I didn't know ISIS was flying monkeys.
Before we step full scale onto a racist landmine.
Woo!
At least there were no talking camels. All right.
All righty then.
Now that I've contributed.
Sweet merciful Christ on a cracker.
So Elphaba is now in exile. She is fighting a war of information, trying to let people know the wizard is full of crap. And Glinda is now the public-facing apparatus of the wizarding regime in the Land of Oz. And she's going to get married to Fiyero from the first one, and he's a little bit surprised by being informed of this because, of course, he is.
Damn reversed forced marriages.
So he's kind of going along with this. The talking animals are starting to leave Oz because it's not really safe there anymore. And Elphaba sings them a song, and they're about to okay, maybe this is fighting is not the worst thing we can do. And then the Cowardly Lion shows up, and he goes, "But you, green woman, took me from my only home. And now look at me. I'm a lion. I'm a coward, and you did this to me."
Thank you, Coleman Domingo.
I love you, Robert. You're amazing.
I was just going to say, thank you, Coleman Domingo. Your check's in the mail.
So most of the talking animals leave. Elphaba gets a little bit annoyed. She shows up to... There's a bit of a subplot going on at the same time where her sister, Nessa, is still awful. And
it's just the worst.
Somehow she is the least likable character in this movie, and boy, that takes a bit of doing.
Mm-hmm. She
is running Munchkinland into the ground. It's not going well. So Elphaba shows up there because their dad has died. And Nessa, in a fit of stupidity, tries to steal the heart of Bach because she's in love with him and he doesn't really care for her that way. And he wants to go confess his love to Glinda because he knows she's marrying Fiyero, and oh no, the twisted, tangled webs we weave.
You missed the levitation spell.
There's
and the ruby slippers.
There's a brief levitation spell on the ruby slippers. It doesn't mean anything. It turns them red briefly. That's our big thing. Then so she tries to recite. So Nessa tries to recite this spell, but she's not very magical, and she says the words wrong. And much like Ashley J. Williams, whenever he tries to read magic spells, that means this goes sideways in a hurry.
Okay, bravo, good reference.
Thank you. So Bach's heart starts disappearing, and you kind of need that to live. So in an effort to save his existence, Elphaba goes through the book and goes, okay, I can't stop this because anything cast from the book is forever.
Right.
But can I find something that will make it so he's okay without a heart, maybe? And she turns him into the Tin Man. And now he's
now-
heartless and a
now we
monster.
know how Han Solo got his vest. Keep going.
Then Elphaba flies to the Emerald City to confront the wizard, and Glinda, on the day of Glinda's wedding, and the wizard goes, "What are you trying to do here, lady?" And she goes, "I want to tell the people the truth." And he goes, "Fine, tell them." And she goes, "No, you tell them the truth." And he goes, "Fine, I could. I could come out and say it's a work, brother, and everyone's just going to look at me and go, no, I was there. I saw you slam Andre."
I hadn't read the article that I posted to you guys for CNN, which, was like, oh, this is political, and then you all, went off in a tizzy about it. But can I tell you that's the most honest part of this entire movie? It's the most
1,000,000%.
No argument.
It was like, I know I criticize modern Hollywood for being juvenile and devoid of any kind of emotional intelligence, but boy, that one morsel of I could tell them the truth, but no one will believe me. Any people believe what they want to believe, and I scream. I wanted to scream in the theater. Yes, finally, someone gets it.
So the wizard's pitch is basically, look, work with me here. You've got actual power. I know how to manipulate the sheep, and you have the tact of Robert Winfrey. So none of it. So you're never going to get anywhere.
Nice.
And she goes, "Okay. You got to do a couple of things for me." He goes, "All right. What do you need?" "First, you will let all the talking animals come back. You will stop blaming all your problems on them because you don't need a scapegoat." The wizard goes, "Yeah, all right. I'll make complicated immigration policy choices based on your whims." "What's the second thing?" And she goes, "The flying monkeys. You will release them. Because the monkeys have overheard that Elphaba is actually the one that gave them their wings, and she's a real person." And he goes, "Okay, you can let the flying monkeys out of their cage. I don't know what'll happen, but go for it." So Elphaba releases the flying monkeys, and one of them pledges loyalty to her, and then shows her that actually a giant portion of the talking animals are all trapped in a dungeon in the Emerald City behind a portrait. And Elphaba goes, "You lied. You cannot be trusted." And the wizard goes, "I've been a bad little boy." And Elphaba frees all the animals, who then stampede through Glinda's wedding.
Subtlety is for cowards.
And then Elphaba shows up, and Fiyero looks at Glinda and goes, "I don't want to play with you anymore." And like Andy to Woody, drops her slow motion style to the floor and leaves with Elphaba. And now Glinda is heartbroken and pissed at Elphaba, and leans more into her role. In fact, she says, "Look, if you need to lure the witch out, you can threaten her sister. That'll do it." And then the wizard and Michelle Yeoh go, "Hey, we could threaten, or we could imperil, or do more." So Michelle Yeoh conjures up a tornado and drops a house carrying Dorothy onto Nessa. And Elphaba gets a vision of this. She goes there. She's confronted by Glinda while we skip over the scene from the movie because we can't show that. And then the guards show up and try to arrest Elphaba after Elphaba and Glinda get into the world's worst fist fight.
Oh, come on. That was a catfight worthy of Dynasty.
I needed Joey Styles was all it. Mark, you're muted. Mark, you're muted.
Thank you.
There you go.
It was not treated like Anakin versus Obi-Wan. It was treated in the manner in which it was. A dainty girl versus a less dainty girl, and they were waving batons at each other until finally one of them said, "What the fuck are we even doing here?" And then the cops showed up. It was fine.
I have a gripe with it, but I'll save it for later.
Okay.
So then Fiyero shows up somehow, and he's able to make sure Elphaba gets free, but then he's captured, and they put him up in a cornfield and proceed to try to interrogate him, and Elphaba, desperate to save his life, casts a spell. And somehow she hasn't learned that spells from the book are never exactly what they say, so she casts a spell where he will live forever, and he won't shed blood, and he won't have bones broken.
And now we know how Han Solo got his gun.
And now we know how the Scarecrow got there. Yeah. And Glinda's become a little bit disenchanted with all of this, so she goes to talk with so Elphaba simultaneously. Elphaba decides, fine, you've taken my boyfriend now, and I've had it. I will be as bad as you expect me to be. In a song that is somehow not quite as good as a song dealing with that same theme from the Lorax of all things. I have nothing but deep pulls tonight, guys. That's all I got.
That's what she said.
So Glinda is then confronted with her own uselessness and culpability in the regime and all the bad things. So she decides to take action. She goes to see Elphaba after Elphaba has kidnapped Dorothy, who took her motley crew to see the wizard briefly, and the wizard said, go bring me the broom of the Wicked Witch of the West and preferably kill her while you're at it. And Dorothy just went along with this, apparently.
Dorothy does not get a single line in this, nor does she in the stage musical.
More on that later. And so Elphaba has kidnapped Dorothy, and then Glinda shows up, and they sort of reconcile, and we get them singing for good. Elphaba then locks Glinda behind a tapestry for safekeeping, where she fares better than Laertes did. She is then doused with water. I told you, obscure references.
So you're firing both barrels tonight, man.
Yep. Glinda's then has to watch as Dorothy's shadow sprays water on Elphaba, and Elphaba melts into the ground.
That's right out of the musical, isn't it?
That actually does happen in the musical. Yeah. It actually plays out pretty similar.
It's all done in shadow.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And she screams, and you see smoke, and it's like, what a world, what a world. Well, no, she doesn't actually say that, but yeah.
So Dorothy gets the broom and goes back to the wizard with her friends. Glinda goes and tells Michelle Yeoh. Well, Glinda gets the magical book at this point. She still can't use it, but she's got it. She also receives a green potion bottle that one of the flying monkeys gave to her that used to be Elphaba's. Like, this was a keepsake from her mother. So she goes to confront the wizard and shows him the green bottle and goes, this was a green bottle from Elphaba's mother. And you're the only person with green bottles. And he goes, this is ridiculous. This entire city's full of green bottles. What are you talking about? No. He goes, oh no, this can clearly only be mine. She must have been my daughter.
You see him drinking from the green bottle repeatedly throughout.
Wabbit. Sorry, go ahead.
God damn it. Why do you derail me with Looney Tunes references? No, you see him drinking from an identical green bottle through both movies. So it's not a case of, only one person does it. It's pretty easy to connect the dots.
It would have been better if it was monogrammed. That's all I'm saying. So he goes, oh no, I have led to the death of my child. And his world collapses. And Glinda says, okay, you're going to leave Oz now. And he goes, yeah, all right. I have been defeated. I will go. I will get in my balloon, and I will leave the land of Oz. So he goes away. Dorothy isn't able to get on the balloon with him. Her story's never actually resolved because Glinda can't actually do magic at this point in the movie. She eventually does, but then we flash over to the castle where Fiyero, the Scarecrow, shows up, and he gets Elphaba out of her hiding place because she faked her own death, because seriously, who's allergic to water? Morons. The entire land of Oz. And Fiyero and Elphaba head off into the desert wastelands to find the spice so they can live eternal, and I don't know.
Oh, good. I'm glad you made a Dune reference. All right, Alexis.
It was that, or hang on. It was that, or it was Star Wars, and I wasn't quite sure which way I was going to go. Well, while Glinda awakens her inner magical power and starts using it to help the people, presumably? Question mark.
Okay, Alexis, go ahead. I really had one question before you start, and just from this question, then go into your review. You with me, Toots?
Yeah, sorry, I was
Okay.
just looking something up here, but please
Only
go
I
ahead.
can be distracted on this podcast. By the way, in case you guys are wondering why I keep like muting and looking off, I want to mute myself and I have to address the TikTok live. That way I don't interrupt the podcast. That's why I'm doing that. So did you like this one more or less than the first one? Either way, why?
I think I liked it less, but not enough less to hate it.
Mhm.
Like
you still like it, just not as much as the first one.
Exactly. Again, the first one, much like like I said before, the first act of Wicked has some of the most iconic moments in the whole musical. It's much more memorable, and this one, there is nothing I would say about this movie is bad. The performances, incredible. Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo knock it out of the park once again. I'll admit, when they sang Change for Good, I got a little choked up. They sound incredible together. I mentioned this last time I reviewed it, the practical sets. Jon M fought hard with the studio, saying he wanted all practical sets. He wanted as little CGI as possible, and they still look incredible. The costumes...
just completely neglected his actual job as a director. And as far as have you seen the set photos from what they were working with?
I saw your post about the color grading. Yeah.
No. Like,
even Jonas was just like, "Don't they have professionals working on this movie?" I'm like, eh.
Because like the set photos from this look great, and then the actual movie looks muted.
Yeah.
Somebody dropped the ball on basic filmmaking here.
I said to you offline, I said, or off air, that this kind of looks like a mid-tier Marvel movie and felt like a mid-tier Marvel movie for girls. And I'm going to clean up my language from what I said, off air. I'm going to be good now. For good. This feels like a post-2020 mid-tier Marvel movie specifically for women. That's what I got out of this movie. But back to you, Alexis.
Okay. I even was blown away by Jeff Goldblum. I thought he did a great job. People always forget the man actually can sing. He is classically trained. The scene where he realizes that Elphaba was his daughter, I was like, wow, okay. I actually feel something for you, Goldblum. Good work.
That's the one scene that got me. The one scene that I had a legitimate, like, emotional reaction to, and was reminded that A, he can act, and B, like, that was legitimately sad. Like, for however stupid it is, however hackneyed, Jeff Goldblum's reaction to Elphaba's alleged death, like, I was like, oh, that sucks. That kicks me right in the solar plexus. That was good stuff.
Admittedly, though, the deep fake of young Goldblum was a little on the creepy side.
That could have been better.
Yeah. But the problem is everything about this movie, I mean, it is the same as the first one. This isn't a sequel. There was nothing added to this. There's no new characters. There's no development.
Right.
Everyone is where they were in the previous film. It's good, but there is nothing to say about it that hasn't already been said because we talked about the first one. I think the only scene that I walked away from thinking, okay, that was impressive, is The Girl in the Bubble. This was a new song. There were 2 new songs added for this film. There's No Place Like Home, the thing that Elphaba sings to the animals, and Girl in the Bubble, which Glinda sings in her little pink gaudy tower, which is brilliantly filmed using mirrors to make it look like it is all done in one take. And you guys know me, you know that's something I really enjoy seeing filmmakers try, and that scene was really impressive. Very, very well done. Really enjoyed it.
You know, this movie in particular spawned a bit of a discussion amongst the musical theater crowd. In the adaptation from stage to screen, it's not uncommon for new songs to be written.
Especially if they're going for, trying desperately to get that extra Oscar nomination.
Yeah. Or you have a shorter play and you've got to pad some runtime.
I'll say, ask Andrew Lloyd Webber about that in Cats.
Yeah, but the point was raised by someone after that no film adaptation of a musical has added a song that made the actual production, that made the end product better.
It's a really funny stat.
I disagree if for no other reason. I'll grant you this is a minority stake, but you used an absolute in your argument. But I have confidence in me is not in the original Sound of Music.
All right, back
and
to you.
That is a glorious insight into the character of Maria.
Back to you, Alexis. Keep going with your craft review.
Again, it's just very hard to find things to say about this that haven't already been said. I drove home thinking to myself, okay, what am I going to talk about on the review? Well, everything I talk about, I already talked about in the previous one.
Okay. Let me ask you different. Let me help you. Let me prompt you. Was there anything that this movie did differently than the second one, for better or for worse?
I think my only problem was a little heavy-handed with some of the symbolism. The scene where, and I specifically remember with Bach, the scene where he's chopping the firewood for Nessa Rose, and I was like, ha! Because again, I've seen the musical. I know what's about to happen to him.
Right.
Hell, I'll even give credit the idea of that he turned into a tin once because of all the tin and the silver that was around him.
To that point, when they actually were something that they said, and I nudged Jonas, and we both like two morons. It was like, they said the thing, 6, 7. Like we couldn't help ourselves. And I have more on that when you're done. Go on.
I will say it's kind of funny watching Ethan Slater in this role after watching Gen V season 2, where he played the real bad guy of that.
Yeah.
Can I tell you, I actually liked his performance in this movie. Like, he's one of the only actors who I think actually gets a little bit of range, apart from Goldblum going real sad.
I'll give you that. I don't actually remember. I don't think in the stage musical he has that song where he rallies up the crowd.
I imagine not, would be my hunch, but
because I'm like 90% certain after he wakes up and he's turned into the Tin Man and Nessa Rose screams, "It was Elphaba," because she's basically saying, "No, I didn't do this, not my fault." Then I think he's done.
So wanted him to just go, "I was there. It literally just happened. You did this to me."
Again, I don't think he had that, but it was a powerful musical number, and I give credit because again, this is the guy who his big breakout role was the SpongeBob SquarePants musical with him playing SpongeBob. So it's like, okay, it's like, okay, glad to see you're actually getting more range and proving you're not just the goofy looking actor. I mean, this is the guy who's freaking dating Ariana Grande.
Nice.
I weep for him.
Good pull.
So, but there's just not that much to talk about. Again, there was a few scenes I liked, but the rest of it, I'm like, meh.
Okay, let me get in here. Good, bad, and ugly. Good. I was entertained. I didn't fall asleep on this one.
Helps that it's about 20 to 30 minutes shorter than the first one.
Also, different health conditions this time. More on that later. But yeah, I was entertained by this. I think my struggle with this movie is, and I've been joking about it all podcast, is, and I kind of was like elbowing Jonas a lot. This is another one of these. They have to ham fist backstories into things because it's a prequel. Everything has to line up with the Wizard of Oz, even though it's expressly stated in both the book and even the beginning of the musical that the story, and I was explaining this to Lily because Lily's like, why don't we ever see Dorothy's face in this? Why do they kind of dance around a lot of the Wizard of Oz stuff? Because, as I said to her, because in context, in this world's context, the MGM movie, The Wizard of Oz, is mythology. That Wicked is the real accounting of what happened to these people that are in the mythology of Wizard of Oz. And then
if you want again, that's the in-universe explanation.
Yeah.
If you want the real explanation,
it's a whole other thing. We'll get to it.
Wicked is just fan fiction that, for some reason, everyone has decided to treat pseudo as canon, when in reality, it's a kind of a what if. It's an Elseworld retelling. It's not.
That's why I didn't want to get into too much of that. Thank you. So, but my problem is then it's not really necessary to do all of that Han Solo prequel. We have to give everything a backstory. Everything has to line up. Another example of what I'm talking about, still in the Star Wars universe, is Rogue One.
I got a better example from Star Wars, believe it or not.
Then Rogue One.
Yeah.
Let me finish my sentence then, and then you can throw yours in. So no matter what happens, Rogue One has to end with the Corellian cruiser getting intercepted by the Star Destroyer, and Leia has to have the plans in her hand. And it's like, you have to, if it's written well enough, you can get around this without annoying people like me. But a lot of times you get a Solo where it's so obvious and so ham-fisted, I keep getting taken out of the movie. I think, I'm going to give you a second to speak, Robert, but I want to get this out. I think part of why I was struggling with this is I kept getting taken out of the movie. This should have been a more immersive experience, especially since it's high fantasy. And I kept being reminded that this is a movie. And I'm like, well, and so I'm already like, I'm not really enjoying this experience. I'm not moved. I'm not taken anywhere. I'm watching somebody ham-fistedly try to connect to the Wizard of Oz. And I'm like, I'm bored by this. The other side of that is I think this is a really stupid story, but I'll get to that in a second. What's your third example?
Again, also Star Wars, but there's a line in Revenge of the Sith.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's not Revenge of the Sith. Sorry, it's Clone Wars. Attack of the Clones. Where Anakin meets General Grievous and so this would be third one. Sorry, the prequel ones all run together. The first time Anakin meets General Grievous, he says, I thought you'd be taller. This may seem like a nothing line, but then for the entirety of the Clone Wars television show, they have to make sure Anakin never sees General Grievous. So they spend 7 seasons never letting them share the screen together.
It's actually really fun. I didn't know that because I haven't watched much of the Clone Wars. So anyway,
I know that bit of trivia about it.
That's really funny. So good. Still a gorgeous movie, despite whatever the other technical issues were about the color grading and all of that. Still an exceptionally ornate, well-crafted setting. I genuinely like Ariana Grande. I like her performance in this. She kind of reminded me of whoever plays her on Broadway, and only in this way, because this was one of those things where I laughed. It's a meta moment, but it made me laugh, and I was kind of more forgiving of the movie in those moments. Like, as Dorothy's going off on the yellow brick road, and fucking Glinda's like, it's just the one road. Everybody treats Dorothy like she's a giant pain in the ass, like she's the least important person. There's a whole discussion to be had, which I did have with my daughter, about what they've done to the hero of this picture, Dorothy, in this retelling. But I don't want to get into it right this second.
Even the book treats Dorothy better than the musical.
But my point is, because it's a done deal. She's already a dead hero in this thing. It doesn't really matter. But at least they treat it funny and made me laugh. So Ariana Grande going, it's just the one road, or later on, where she's like, it's always something else with that girl. I laugh at those moments. Those are the truly genuinely funny. I talked about Jeff Goldblum already. I think his acting in this is really, really good. He's not so Jeff Goldblum-y. I don't like the songs nearly as much as the first one. They're okay. I laughed hard. I'm probably not meant to, obviously, but No Good Deed, I was crying laughing. And not because the song is bad or anything like that, but because the whole spirit and meaning behind the song is something I so wholeheartedly am against. And this is supposed to be like a celebratory connecting moment. And I know that people watching her sing No Good Deed are right there with her. And I'm like, you're all the worst humans. It's so bad. That if you resonate in any way with No Good Deed, I weep for this fucking country.
I hated that song, not just because I
So
It
much
is
flames on the side of your face.
it is no, I'm not quite Madeline Kahn. Boy, yeah, another reference. I'm full of them.
We're all references tonight, baby.
Yes,
Before
we
you
are.
say your
So,
thing, just because you can just go in, start
yeah.
your stuff with whatever you're about to say. So let me just finish. Overall, this is yet another one I saw on obligation, not on real genuine interest.
Yeah.
And I think it's borderline competent. Go ahead.
Just about the for good no good deed thing. It's one of the worst shot sequences in this movie because there's a lot of CGI that has to be used in that one, and
Yeah.
Chow pretty clearly is not strong understanding the digital component of this.
Yeah. No
Probably
Good Deed
why
really
he
should,
fought. I'm sorry to say, it's probably why he fought hard for the practical sets.
No Good
Yeah.
Deed should have come across like Let It Go, and it doesn't.
Yeah, and everyone misunderstood Let It Go too.
Uh-huh. Yup.
Again, it's another thing that just people willfully misunderstand at this point.
Let It Go, the girl musical version of Born in the USA.
Yeah. I gotta be honest. The entire scene where she sings to try and convince the animals not to leave.
Mm-hmm.
What a giant miss. That's one of the few scenes of this entire movie where I just went, we could have done none of this and lost nothing of value.
Yeah.
I mean, don't leave. Oz is a promise and you have to fight for it. Like, okay, your commentary's bad on its face. Second of all, your desperate attempts to liken this to the modern political climate are even more pathetic. Just stop. You're not smart enough or talented enough to make this work.
But again, we got to get that extra Oscar nomination. We can't let K-pop Demon Hunters get Best Original Song.
And they've got to be, going through a tunnel as well underground because underground. Look, I'm pretty sure there's a train down there. We can actually make the Underground Railroad reference.
It's actually kind of funny that they did that because when they
them and the Animaniacs dragging the whales off the beach, man. Just
no, see, okay, in Oz canon, the deserts that are around Oz are so desolate and deadly that if you step onto them, you turn into sand. They're cursed. When I saw the tunnel, I thought that was their way of getting out of Oz without going through the desert. But then when you have the ending shot of the literal straw man and Elphaba walking over, I'm like, well, then why the hell were they going through the tunnel? It makes no sense. Again, that's what I thought that tunnel was, implying, that they were avoiding the desert.
Oh, that is one positive thing I can say. The guy playing Fierro and Cynthia Erivo, really hot, really good sexual chemistry together. Like that shit in the forest, hot diggity.
It's actually interesting because in the musical, they are like lying on top of each other on stage while they're singing it. They are like grabbing at each other. It's not sung as romantic. It is sung as sing this to me while you like plow me.
It's hungry like the wolf. Go on.
It's got a bass line. But yeah, as far as the overall movie, there's a few things this thing has going for it over the first one. It's shorter, thank heavens. That's kind of the big thing. There's a real problem with the way they've approached this adaptation to begin with, and part of it echoes a problem that the stage musical has. The stage musical has a few ways around this problem. You're dealing with the two characters of Glinda and Elphaba trying to have their arcs kind of in concert. That's fine in a stage play. Again, you can make it work. When you decide that, okay, so the first movie is going to be Elphaba's arc and the second movie is going to be Glinda's arc, you disconnect the audience from the emotion of what's going on. And that's a big thing about what's going on here. Elphaba had her big arc. Well, she's supposed to have like the actual culmination of it. Yeah, but she claimed her power at the end of the first act. So she doesn't get to do anything in the second one that isn't related to that, because all we know how to do is write empowerment stories. So Elphaba gets her empowerment in the first movie, yay. Glinda gets her empowerment in the second movie, yay. But if you're not actually going to make a third movie where these two things come into like conflict and resolution, you've just disconnected your climax in a really disconcerting way. So that's a giant problem.
Hey,
Second problem.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I didn't understand. We did another thing where Senator, you've got to do better. So Glinda, so you have the head mistress who has weather powers at the very least. And, and Ariana Grande is just like, hey, you dropped a house on Nessa and you did bad things and I'm over you and you can't bully me anymore. I am now an ascendant woman. And she's like, and take her away. She will go to the prisons. And this woman
still got magic powers.
And she still has magic. She's like, you're like 10 pounds and so small hurricane. Like I don't understand. I didn't understand how she couldn't read the book. That was
supposed to resolve anything?
I didn't understand she couldn't read the book to begin with, but so she can't read the book. Who cares? She's still magic. Glinda, we've said repeatedly throughout this movie, Glinda has no power. She's Donald Trump. She's just a figurehead carrying out the will of the people behind the scenes, right? And so, let me do the full thing. She's Donald Trump carrying out the Heritage Foundation's propaganda. That's great. I'm glad we have established this. So,
she is Stanley Tucci in the Hunger Games.
Right. So if we're going to do that, then then she's suddenly got, and she's by herself. She's like, doesn't have anyone around to protect her. She's like,
she hasn't even rallied the people around. This is just like,
to prison. How did the head mistress not turn around and be like, I'm still magic? What do you think you're doing? Like, I hate that. Those are the inconsistencies of the movies that really bother me. You establish a character has no power, and a character has power, and suddenly the character with no power can make the character with power do things against their will.
But Mark, Glinda became self-actualized and found her empowerment.
That apparently became her Care Bear stare.
It is... Wow. Okay, then. Yeah.
I mean, would have been more believable had she done a Care Bear stare and suddenly the woman went off into an LP in space. I would have cheered then.
Sure you would have.
Anyway, please continue.
So that's one big problem. The other big problem you run into is, as you mentioned, Mark, the entirety of this second movie has to revolve around the story of Dorothy without ever actually doing anything with her.
Yeah.
The first movie, at a minimum, had a streamlined, followable, coherent narrative. It may have bored you to tears, but it tracks from beginning to end, for the most part. This one, we have to have contrivance after convenience after everything to make sure that, for some reason, we don't interrupt pre-established canon from another movie or book that you're ignoring again, anyway in your own conceit of what you've created.
Right.
What are we doing?
I would like to remind you, we've already said is mythology.
So it just ruins the ability to like invest in anything that's going on for the most part. The fight between Elphaba and Glinda, here's my gripe with this. It kind of goes as follows. Look, I don't care that it's, poorly choreographed. Neither of them knows how to throw hands. I'm okay with them looking stupid.
Okay.
This is not my gripe. My gripe is actually the emotion. This is supposed to be a big deal. Elphaba's her sister is there. Dead.
Yeah.
Crushed by a house. And Cynthia Erivo reacts to this like, oh no, you're out of my favorite ice cream. Now I shall strike you, woman.
Fucking Jonas's reaction to Nessa toddling in her fucking wheelchair down the yellow brick road. And that we were both doing Wile E. Coyote. We were like, umbrella, Like, here, I nudged him and I said, "I'm sorry, I failed you as a father. I've never shown you the MGM Wizard of Oz because what you're
That
about
is a
to
pretty
see
big failing on your
Yes,
part.
it is.
makes no fucking sense about what you're about to see." And so then they drop the house on Nessa, and it's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen. And I I was saying to Jonas and Lily when we were talking about the movie after it was done, I said, when Dorothy shifts from Tetris color to Technicolor in The Wizard of Oz, and she goes to the house, all you see is Tim Burton socks and the ruby slippers. And then they take the ruby slippers off, and then they fucking roll up. My kids got a kick out of that. They roll up under the house, and that's it. You don't get a chance to question how silly it is because it's happened already. It's a part of the set piece, and it's a plot point to kind of move things forward. It's to give Dorothy a weapon so that she can get through the fantasy land in a conceivable way. She's also going to meet, the rest of her, Dungeons and Dragons party as she goes. Great. Wonderful fantasy. This is exactly why I don't like prequels anymore, because it's the Kobayashi. I'm just now thinking of this. It's the Kobayashi Maru all over again.
Can someone keep a count of how many references we're going to make tonight? Jesus
a zillion.
Christ.
Shut up.
Again, it's the only way to talk about this movie because there's so little of it to talk about on its own terms.
But I've complained about the Kobayashi Maru thing before, where when Kirk talks about it, it's this great mysterious thing, and it's only used there to give him character and depth. Once you see it in the James Abrams versions, it looks fucking stupid, and it takes all the magic out of it. Same thing here. You just accept the house fell on this woman because you need the shoes to go to the hero so she can go on the quest. Watching that fucking... First of all, the fact that Storm from the X-Men could call a house from who the fuck knows where, and I have no idea in this world where Kansas is in relation to Oz. But forget it. It's a nerdy thing. Leave it alone. So she could somehow, through magic, call this house through the portals in space, drop it on this poor lady in a wheelchair, which fucking, I'm in a wheelchair and I get a house dropped on me. What the hell, man? So it was just like, it's a stupid moment that looks bad, and you never needed to know how it happened or why it looked the way it did. It just happened.
There's also this incredibly stupid line that in a smarter movie would have been played for comedy. But when Elphaba says to Glinda, like, that cyclone didn't just come out of the sky, like, yeah, it did.
It quite literally.
That's where tornadoes come from.
Yeah, I was expecting Glinda's like, well, where else do you think cyclones
would have
come
made
from?
more. That line would have made more sense had the house erupted from the fucking ground and then came down. Anyway, keep going, Robert.
Oh, but yeah, that line, just like, it should have been a comment. It should have been a joke. It really should have been a funny line. Like, cyclones don't just come out of the sky, Glinda. And Glinda goes, yeah.
You weren't paying attention in weather class, were you?
Like, I'm the dumb blonde. How do I know this and you don't? But
it's like, pretty sure even in Oz, there's that little thing we like to call physics.
Well,
they did mention
allegedly.
defying gravity and all.
But that leads to the biggest problem is the stage production gets around a lot of the utter silliness of the second act, all the Wizard of Oz stuff, by being really tongue-in-cheek about it.
Right.
This movie is so freaking self-serious that I can't take it seriously. No, everything about this is stupid. And if everyone feels like they're in on the joke, you can go along with it. But no, everyone's treating this like like you're having a heart attack. So no, I'm sorry. All you've done is take me out of it when all of this is treated with, again, this impossible seriousness.
We're almost at an hour. Can you start to wrap?
Yeah. The character of Nessa being terrible actually needed to be more fleshed out.
Yeah, I have forgotten the last movie, so I don't remember why she's a Nazi.
It's all for Bach. And this is actually one of the things I kind of don't like that they changed. In the musical, she when she gets the spell, and for the record, she doesn't fly in the musical. She can walk. That's what the shoes do. It gets her out of the wheelchair. But the actress they got is wheelchair bound. So they said instead of having her walk, they're going to make her fly. That's fine. But the reason Bach decides to leave is not because Glinda's getting married. It's because now that Nessa is self-reliant, he says, oh, good, you don't need me. I can go. I have literally only been staying with you out of perpetual guilt. He actually admits that to her. So the idea is that, yeah, she's doing this all to control him, to keep him there. I mean, that's why we get and that was an added scene, the whole, you know, Munchkins are not allowed to leave by act of the governor. That was not it. Again, Bach stayed with her because he felt like if he left her, everyone was going to shame him, going, you left the girl who's in the wheelchair.
So wait, Nessa being a Nazi is an invention of the movie?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, and really,
another log on the stupid fire.
That really needed to be more fleshed out, because if you want to get to the point where the Munchkins celebrate her death, like, one weekend of poor governance ain't gonna do it.
I'm not gonna say it. We'll be here for another hour, but ooh, like, we already can't get a full unified country on some pretty horrendous things. There are still people going, no, this is all fine. We like the guy doing it, so it's all good. So yeah, your point being like one bad weekend act of governance does not a unified population create.
Yeah, I can't even remember if the line about the animal segregation thing was in the musical or not, or if they added that.
I feel like that's an invention, but don't quote me.
Anything else, Robert?
Yeah, part of the other reason the climax of this movie falls woefully flat.
Mm-hmm. It's really rushed and like nonsensical.
Yeah, and there's again a lot of reasons for it.
Mm-hmm.
One is that like the actual villain doesn't get any sort of like clash with the hero, because it's Michelle Yeoh who's kind of the real villain here, and she gets grabbed by flying monkeys.
Yep.
And this also falls flat because Michelle Yeoh, while a very good actress,
bold choice not to have Michelle Yeoh wearing an ice vest and have it be, you know, people from North Carolina carrying her away. Keep going.
Let's dial that back a little bit, Mike. So that fails a little bit. Again, Jeff Goldblum's performance kind of redeems like his makes his loss not just like I lost someone I never knew, but like, oh, I have been defeated loss.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more palatable. But yeah, we speed run through what should be the climax. It all falls really, really flat. And there's also this weird little like sub theme running through here where Elphaba has these like flashbacks to the good old school days
where she was bullied.
Well, I'm like, I watched the movie. You and your sister and Bach and Elphaba and Glinda and Fiyero, like that was never, you know, the big three at Hogwarts. Like you were never that. Your sister was a royal pain in the butt to you for the entirety of that movie. And now, like, if you're trying to say something about, like, she has weird rose-colored nostalgia glasses for an unreality that never existed, you don't do anything with it, and I don't think you're smart enough to have made that an ironic point. So, no. Giant miss, again. Yeah, the singing's fine. A lot of the effects look okay. Man, the Scarecrow... They needed to just commit to that being practical makeup instead of VFX mixed with practical makeup.
But then we would diminish the look of People's Sexiest Man of the Year.
I don't care.
I like when anyone makes a point about what's going on in the culture. Robert's like, but I don't care, which doesn't change the fact that this is what's going on in the culture and this is why they're doing it. Instead of just recognizing that point, Robert has to stand up on a fucking soapbox.
I would rather they
wiggle
stood
his ass and go, "I don't care. I'm Robert Winfrey."
I'd rather the movie was made with I'd rather it was made with artistic integrity than.
Yeah, don't we all? How long you been doing this fucking show, pal?
And my rather has not changed, Mark. I accept that it's unlikely.
Robert going down with the ship, Winfrey.
Yes, in this respect, because
sorry, I'm just like I said, I was just pointing out Jonathan Bailey is a good-looking man, and they did not want his sexiness to be diminished by the excess scarecrow makeup.
Why is this thing green? Well, it's green because this is the way the people want it, but I don't care. It's like every time. That's the rhythm.
Look, that was just a thing that I think needed to be done differently or it needed to be fully digital because it's not. It is a weird conglomeration of the two effects, and it creates a really weird feeling like Cynthia Erivo is caressing a PS3 model.
All right, are we good?
In summation, if you liked the first one, you'll probably like this one just fine. If you didn't, it's really not your cup of tea. I don't think it's as good as the first one as on balance, but it has the benefit of being at least shorter. So, last thing. Because this is another thing that goes to why the finale doesn't work. This is a thing the stage musical changed from the book. The book actually gets this right. Part of what gets Elphaba out of downward spiral wickedness is Elphaba tells Dorothy what's been going on.
Right. Actually,
and Dorothy goes, "Oh, that really sucks. I'm sorry. I didn't really know that was your sister. I knew it was a witch. Sorry about your sister. And yeah, you can totally have the shoes back." And it is this weird, like, random act of sort of spontaneous decency from a person not from the land of Oz that kind of reminds Elphaba that no, there's still actually decency in the world worth pursuing. And that's removed. It's played differently in the musical, and it's utterly absent from the film.
Yep.
Because they don't even want to lean into Elphaba being bad in the first place, because we can't do that for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't want to be here for 3 hours, but there's an hour's worth of discussion about how, and we touched on it last year. It's worth bringing up again because again, I had this conversation with Lily when we were done with the movie about like why they only kept showing Dorothy from the back of the head, and that is the incessant need to deconstruct and retire heroes. This movement to create not anti-hero in the Punisher sense, but anti-hero in everything that heroes stand for is now passé, and we should live in instead of anti-hero, we should live in a post-hero world, and that sucks. That sucks for people. That sucks for the culture.
Sucks for art.
That sucks for aspirational morality. It really bugs me. And what they did to Dorothy in this movie is not going to be noticed by anyone but us, but also a real crime against morality, fiction, culture. Like, it's a bigger deal than I think anyone realizes. And
I am so glad, Mark, that last year when I told you this is bad, here's why it's bad, and here's the fruits of it, that a year later you have now looked at enough data to go, boy, Robert, you were right.
Well, I don't take anything you say at face value.
I'm aware.
Go ahead, Alexis.
That was not the way I took with what they did with Dorothy.
There's a shock.
It's an interpretation thing. I took it as Dorothy has always been the focus of Oz, and I felt that if they had actually cast an actress that we recognize and gave her lines, I felt that it would have been a massive distraction and would have pulled away from the main focus of Wicked, which is supposed to be the relationship between Elphaba and Glinda. I feel that
that's really not the point of the book, though. That's the point of the musical.
That's what I'm saying is that, well, again, this is an adaptation of the musical. Yeah. The book is so different. The book takes so many.
The book
yeah.
has so much furry porn.
Alrighty.
The book has so many people with missing limbs. It's kind of
All right.
freaky.
Have you satisfactorily made your point? You don't feel dismissed?
Wicked is more tonally in line with the original novels, or Return to Oz if you need a movie reference.
It's abundantly clear that with this, they really wanted to make it more closely resemble the MGM classic, even though the original book tried crazy to say, no, I have nothing to do with the MGM classic.
Yeah.
So that way I don't have, studio-backed lawyers coming and, breaking down my door.
The Wicked novel has as much to do with the Wizard of Oz as the TV show Tin Man. With that said, here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
Alrighty. As I said before, this movie has no bananas. Also,
It has plenty of bananas.
$150 million budget, $223 million box office opening weekend. The San Francisco 49ers just scored another touchdown.
That will make my aunt very happy.
Oh, good. That's what we live for on this show.
You're going to interject football. I'm going to interject my familial relationship with football.
That's fair. As of November 23rd, Wicked for Good has grossed $147 million in the U.S. and Canada, and $76 million in other territories like China, for a worldwide total of $223 million. I actually don't know if it made it to China or not. I just felt like saying it. In the U.S. and Canada, it made $69.1 million on its opening day, which included $30.8 million from preview showings in the week leading up to its release. $6.1 million on Monday, $6.5 million on Wednesday, and $18.2 million on Thursday. Its box office previews were the biggest of the year, surpassing The Fantastic Four: First Steps. The film topped the domestic and international box office with grosses of $147 million and $223 million, respectively, surpassing its predecessor to earn the highest opening weekend for a Broadway adaptation. It also ranked as the second biggest opening of 2025 behind a Minecraft movie.
It didn't open bigger than the Minecraft movie. Just ruminate on that for a minute.
The third biggest opening for a Universal film behind Jurassic World, $208 million, and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, $148 million. The second biggest pre-Thanksgiving debut behind The Hunger Games: Catching Fire, $158 million. And the third biggest opening for a musical behind the remakes of The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast at $174.8 million. All right. It obviously won the weekend. There was no way it wasn't going to win the weekend.
Yeah, so ultimately this is on track to do almost identical to the original, to the first movie.
Which did what, 700 or some odd? Because I know it didn't make the billion I thought it would.
It was 7 and change, if memory serves.
All right.
Which would still be a pretty solid win for the studio.
So it knocked 9, Now You See Me, Now You Don't, down from 1 to 2. Predator Badlands maintained its hold at number 3. The Running Man. Yes.
I've still had to do the movie math with people over Predator Badlands.
That's unfortunate. Hey, you should check out my TikTok I put up this morning on the Running Man.
Should I?
Yeah, because I dealt with the whole, this was made in a world that no longer exists thing. That's kind of the basis of my whole essay.
I finally heard someone give The Running Man a good review earlier today. Made me question my ability to trust them on anything.
I was just saying, were they mentally retarded? The Running Man
certainly has suffered some brain damage and black liver disease.
Rendell Family debuted at 5. Sisu: Road to Revenge, number 6. My son and I decided that tomorrow, since I start my vacation for a few days, we're gonna watch the first Sisu because that's what fathers and sons should do.
You're darn right.
That way, we can double feature Zootopia 2 with Sisu: Road to Revenge.
Well, one of those will be a worthwhile experience.
Which I heard referred to as this year's Mad Max Fury Road. Which I thought was a really great description of it. Regretting You fell from 4 to 7. Nuremberg 7-8. Black Phone 2 5 to 9. Sarah's Oil 8 to 10. Other debuts this weekend were Cactus Pears. I had one of those for dinner tonight. It was delicious.
It can be.
Cutting Through Rocks, Zodiac Killer Project,
Hey,
And
who leaked that?
and a re-release of Killer Raccoons 2: Dark Christmas in the Dark. That sounds amazing.
No.
What did Jonah say in the background?
He says, "Please take me to see this, Father. I must see this movie."
Didn't he learn from Cocaine Bear and the disappointment that was?
This is the same boy who I made watch Crackoon, and then questioned my own parenting.
Yeah, you should not have let that go to completion.
That's what she said. Listen, no movement in the top 10. It's the same as it was last week.
So hang on, what are we looking at as potentially moving here?
Well, you figure Wicked for Good's gonna. We've
Well,
already
'cause,
said
yeah,
this 2 or 3 times. Wicked for Good, Zootopia, and Avatar are all
Well-
probably going to make more than 521 million.
So Wicked for Good debuts at 18.
Yeah,
It'll probably pass Thunderbolts next week,
yeah.
but it's not going to jump all the way into the top 10 yet. I mean, the original one largely got where it did, not just from a good opening weekend, which it had, but from a pretty serious hold week to week.
Mhm.
How the hell is Snow White at 19? That thing needs to be like several places lower.
No,
Because
because it made $205 million.
and a lot. Because it made 205 million and a lot of shit didn't this year.
Yeah.
Look at poor Tron Ares just limping around, doesn't know what to do.
Tron
with itself.
Ares didn't beat Dogman.
Tron Ares did not beat Dogman. Who dog? Ballerina did not meet. Here are the movies doing worse than Dogman this year. Tron Ares, Ballerina, Mickey 17, Black Phone 2, Smurfs, Karate Kid Legends, The Accountant 2, Downton Abbey, The Naked Gun, A Working Man, The Monkey, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Now, in fairness, for several of these movies, they don't need to have done that much better to be decently
The Running
profitable.
Man.
The Running Man.
The Running Man's at 28 million behind
oh.
Flight Risk, which came out in fuck you, it's January.
Yep.
But
Oh
The
my
Running Man did better
God.
than Oscar Darling, Springsteen, Deliver Me from the Nowheres.
Boy, yeah, that thing crashed. Hey, there's Megan 2.0.
Woohoo!
Who thought, once again, who thought that was a good idea?
Oh God, look at this. Warfare, poor Warfare, 33 million.
Warfare is also half a prestige film, so
Hey, sweetie. They Sugar Plum, K-pop Demon Hunters with 24 million in the box office, despite being a Netflix movie. How do you like them apples?
well,
That tickle
you want to know the
fancy?
thing? You want to know the thing about K-pop Demon Hunters?
What's the other thing about K-pop Demon Hunters?
It didn't need a big box office take because it was Netflix. I've heard people make this argument about that movie in particular that
Mm-hmm.
it should have had a theatrical release because it's the biggest Netflix movie ever.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually appreciate the counter argument. It wouldn't have done as well in a theatrical setting. The fact that it was just organic growth.
Well, that's always been like a movie phenomenon, though. People see things they don't see them in the movies originally. Like, take streaming out of it entirely. Just the natural course and ecosystem of movies and home video watching. People don't even before the internet. People didn't always see things in the movies.
Yeah.
You missed it for whatever the reasons were. Maybe didn't know it was there. Caught it on cable, caught it on network television. Like, oh my God, this thing's pretty cool. I really like this. And then they put it back in theaters and go, come see the theatrical, like fucking Star Wars. This is a really great example of this. Yes, everybody and their brother saw it in 1977, and then it came out of theaters, and then more people watched it at home, and then they re-released it back in theaters again. It's around that time. I'm not talking about the special editions. People went back to because they wanted to experience Star Wars on the big screen. There's so many examples of this.
Matt Damon has talked about this in general. Like one of the death of home video has so fundamentally altered the movie making business, because it used to be that when you had your home video release, you got almost as much money again as you did from your box office opening weekend.
Right.
Like those were comparable numbers.
So remember when Titanic came out on home video? I still remember the news broadcast showing these people standing in line at Blockbuster, and apparently they were buying like 10 sets of the double cassette because
Yeah,
people
was
had
2
given them
VHS
money to
tapes.
go. Yeah, it's like, so you see all of these, stay-at-home moms, their hands full
The
of Titanic tapes.
1989 Tim Burton Batman on VHS on its initial release was like $70. It was an expensive VHS.
Yep.
So, but yeah, people, you watch things at home because you missed them in the theater, and then they re-release them in the theater, and people go back out and want to experience the theater. Whenever we have this conversation, the one thing we don't really talk about all that much is how people have home theaters now. So for the most part, outside of the camaraderie and maybe community feeling, which is there all the time, people more hate everyone around them than not. But people can now replicate the in-theater experience on their televisions at home. So that also used to be a thing. Like, go see it in the big theater, you get the theater surround sound, you get the visual quality. Now you can replicate that at home. Nobody cares. And again,
do a little bit better
hates
job of
everybody
it.
around them. Yeah.
Depending on, how much money you have lying around.
All right. Ready to move on? Because I don't think there was anything else in the news worth talking about.
No, again, just I'm stuck doing movie math with people because the Badlands thing in particular, like, oh boy, it crossed the $150 million mark worldwide.
When the brain rot generation latches onto something, no amount of evidence will convince them otherwise. I believe someone in the movie said something similar to that.
Yeah, and again, like, if there's, to that point, let me just reiterate, if there's one genuinely good bit in this movie, it is Jeff Goldblum's character being incredibly aware of
like practically like winking at the camera.
Well,
Right.
I almost wish they'd done more with that, like him kind of going, I don't really want to be here anymore.
I said
But
that
the
about.
only way,
I said this about the original, about the first Wicked. I really wish we understood better how Oz worked to make what he did. Because him saying, like, I made the trains run on time. Oz was chaos when I got here. And I think I said last year, then show us the chaos. Show us what you did so that we know what's at stake. Which I think is a real problem with most movies these days, is that the people making them really don't understand the show versus tell concept that is inherent in good movie making. So because we're a hyper-verbal society now, and when we lack the ability to notice nuance
or the world outside of our screens.
So you have to tell people, like, it's you have to tell people because they're not really watching the movie, they're scrolling on their phones aesthetic. You can't just show people what's at stake. You have to verbalize it, which really loses its effect. I mean, we're not watching a fucking Time to Kill here. There's very few instances where there's a highly effectual verbalization of something that gets an emotional impact. You have to show people, except people aren't watching. With that said, let's go to the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Alrighty. Well, once again, proving why this podcast is utterly pointless, we have 95% fan meter, which, taking a closer look at it, all audience is 92, verified audience is 95. Everyone who listens to this podcast is going to be like, why do you guys hate this movie? And I will go outside and bite a tree. Top critics, 57%. All
That's
critics, 69%.
barely fresh, for the record.
Yeah. Let's see. The AI writes, taking one last lap down the yellow brick road, dick. Wicked for Good's darker tone and unhurried pacing sometimes get in the way, but this epic conclusion...
It's not epic.
It's not epic. ultimately brings Elphaba and Glinda's story home in rousing fashion.
No, it doesn't.
Not really.
All right, let me go find all of your husbands and wives.
Future
let's see.
ex-husbands and wives, I believe, is the appropriate title.
Brooke Obi of Black Girl Watching. Good to know. With a script this bad for good, was doomed from the start, sacrificing character development, story, and political integrity. It merely gestures at anti-fascism.
Oh, for crying out loud.
What?
This movie wasn't political enough. The lesser evil wins, but it's still evil.
This person wanted the nukes to drop at the end of this movie.
This movie wanted Elphaba leading an army of fucking winged monkeys versus the Aussians, and then have them slaughtered. Like fucking Custard's Last Stand.
Sorry, I actually need a minute to recover from something that's stupid.
Alrighty.
These are people you can't take seriously about anything.
And yet they get a spot here and we don't.
Yes.
Such is life.
Sarah V. Vincent views. Wicked for Good is Orwell for kids of any.
Piss off.
And once again, we don't understand Orwell, especially
She
theater
doesn't
kids.
understand
Wicked.
Orwell.
Is Orwell for kids of any age, especially theater kids and the fans who would love it regardless of quality. It still could have been shorter or condensed into one movie.
Okay, first of all, no, this had been condensed into one movie, it would have been absolute garbage, okay? I'm normally not one of the people that's like, oh, yeah, obviously, you need to, stretch the shit out and do what J.K. Rowling and Hunger Games and The Hobbit did, and stretch out and get more money, but there is no way you could do Wicked in one film. You really could, not without some serious chopping.
The internet's greatest monster, Doug Walker of Channel Awesome.
Second greatest monster.
Strong dramatic moments and memorable musical numbers outweigh the sometimes unbalanced pacing. You are a disgrace to white people.
Yeah, no.
Let's see. Where are all the fun people? Oh, Alan Ich of Film Threat. It all feels good enough, but also feels disappointing at the same time. Aw.
That may be the most bland review I've ever heard.
Well, he's kind
Somehow
of a
it's
bland
also
guy.
appropriate for this movie.
All right. Oh, here's one of our friends. Stephanie Zasharek of Time Magazine, top critic. Life is too short for leaden fan fiction like Wicked for Good. An extravagant picture that's not nearly as imaginative as it thinks it is.
Not wrong.
Okay, how many of these people do not understand the source material, like at all?
Even if you feel differently about the source material, I don't think it's an unfair criticism to level at the film adaptation.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, calling it fan fiction, it's like, you are seriously missing a step.
Lauren Bradshaw, Fangirl Freakout, does TikTok lives and thanks everybody who likes the live. She says, Wicked for Good is a magical, emotional conclusion to one of the best musicals of all time. Ma'am,
Not a single word of that is true.
Ma'am, you are a living toaster oven.
Robert, I'm curious. I know you're not a musical fan. You said as much last time when we reviewed the first Wicked movie, but if you actually had to say what the best film musical is, adaptation or original, what would you say?
Best as an adaptation or best on its own merits?
Either or both. I don't care. I just want to hear what you think is an outstanding, flawless, oh my God, they got everything right, film musical.
It's probably somewhere between Oliver and The Sound of Music.
Thank you.
Okay, Dark Sky Lady of Dark Sky Lady reviews. It's still amazing with some captivating songs, breathtaking emotional beats, and outstanding performances all around. Wicked for Good ties everything together with tearful joy, even though it feels incomplete and rushed.
You couldn't handle the cognitive dissonance of saying something bad about this.
Oh, here's my friend. Here's one of our friends, Nick Johnston of Vanyaland. On the other hand, For Good is the worst of both worlds, with the flaws inherent and its source amplified by the drabness and dourness of Chu's capitulation to modern blockbuster stylings.
That's fairly accurate.
Okay. We'll do a few more of these, and then here's our friend Jeffrey Harris of 401mania.com. The sequel struggles with the best material and musical numbers appearing in the first half. Wicked, you said that, Alexis. Wicked for Good is still solid, featuring strong performances by the main trio, but the film suffers from extra narrative padding and pacing issues.
A lot of people complaining about the pacing. That's been the biggest complaint, I think, so far.
It's more that it's disjointed than that it's badly paced, but it kind of comes out the same.
Let's see. Aisha Harris, NPR, top critic. This installment is far from a total misfire. Thank goodness Erivo and Grande are such captivating performers, perfectly suited to these roles. But the overpadding and stuffing meant to justify this bifurcated packaging soon becomes readily apparent.
You know, I said I can't really complain about Erivo and Grande's performances. I think, again, it's like we talked about them in the first one, and they didn't get worse.
I told you last year I thought Ariana Grande was the best part of Wicked, the first Wicked movie.
I agree.
That's just because it reminded you of the Barbie movie, Mark.
Speaking of the Barbie movie, Tanya Lamb of Lola Lamb Chops, baby. The future ex-Mrs. Robert Winfrey. The first future ex-Mrs. Robert Winfrey, and the best. Wicked was the glitz and pizzazz, and Wicked for Good is the heart.
Yeah, see, I gotta fundamentally disagree. Like, the actual emotional beats in this movie don't land nearly as well as the first one, which didn't land at all for me anyway.
Oh, I love your wife, Robert Winfrey.
How come it's always our spouses? Aren't you marrying any of these yahoos?
No.
He is not self-selecting into any of them. We have to choose for them to go to him.
I don't deal in the hoi polloi of internet culture, madam.
See, the next time we do this without Mark, we need to assign a few of these people to him and then just keep that bit going without his knowledge.
Keep my fucking name out of your mouth, okay? How about that?
Hey, how about you try and stop me?
Damn it. Hoisted by my own petard.
Look who's wearing his big boy pants.
you couldn't fly out here. You'd step off the plane and need oxygen. Like, just stop.
That hurts me. Mostly because I'm already injured. All right. Shaquille Lambert of CG Magazine. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande's doubly incredible performances helped turn Wicked for Good into an enjoyable, albeit rushed adaptation of the musical's lesser second half.
I'm sorry, that's how he spelled Shaquille like that? That's the strangest spelling.
I'm just glad he didn't spell it with a bat symbol.
He could have.
I'm sorry, I saw that and I thought it was like Shaquille.
Is it Alex Karras and Webster?
All right, last one. Local unalive scarecrow Travis Hobson of Punch Drunk Critics. The second chapter in this yellow-bricked epic is constrained by its need to dovetail neatly with the familiar Oz arc. Oh, no. Oh, God, I agree with Travis Hobson. I'm dumb.
Sorry, that's our biggest complaint.
He is the broken clock that's right
twice a day.
I feel better now. It's a film that still soars.
Once a day if it's a 24-hour clock.
All right. Well, folks, we came, we saw, we kicked its ass, we laughed, we cried, we hurled. This has been our review of Wicked for Good. But that said,
that's where we are.
We always talk over each other. When I finally fucking pause for one of you idiots to interrupt me, you're both like crickets. So that's no, you're doing Has Been Hotel tomorrow, Alexis, with Jesse and
David, yeah.
Then we're done for the week. I will be back on Sunday with Jesse. We're doing Legit season 1, which I should start watching.
Choice.
And then, I wanted to do some Jim Jeffrey stuff since I like his comedy and his bit about gun control. A week from tonight, we're doing Zootopia 2. Are you on that one, Alexis?
Yep.
All right, Edge now.
I'm gonna try to convince my family to go see that this weekend.
We're gonna go see it Wednesday.
Well, Wednesday I'm going to be binging Stranger Things season 5, the first half. Side note: would you please put Stranger Things season 4 retrospective?
You please clean up after yourself, you fucking slob. Every time I come into the podcast after you've done one, you leave your artwork lying around. You leave the thing up. Jesus Christ! When I'm done with the podcast, I put the next one in there. You leave your mess everywhere. I got to clean it up. What am I, your mother?
Sorry. Sorry, I'm a slob.
I'm glad we agree.
Besides, are you really complaining about having to push a few damn buttons? Who are you,
Yes!
George Jetson?
It's a respect thing. Jesus Christ. Moving on.
Okay, fine. I'll tell you what. If the backgrounds are actually loaded in here, I will change them. Okay. For the record, I don't always know what the next show is.
You have the same access to the schedule that I do.
You think I'm going through checking who's doing what? I don't even pay attention to half the shows on this network.
This is why the Chinese are going to win. Anyway.
Yeah, this is why.
Anywho, so Zootopia next week. And then a week from this Wednesday, myself and
Hey, if
Harry
you didn't
Broadhurst-
get enough metaphors about racism from Wicked, Zootopia 2 next week.
we will be talking The Error of Honor Begins 2002. We're getting in the Wayback Machine. And
Wow,
then a
that
week
is in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah. And then a week from this Thursday, a podcast a year in the making. We'll be doing a triple feature, David Fincher focus. It'll be Killer, Seven, and Zodiac. And then delayed from earlier in the month, Evan Bevins doesn't have a leak in his house or has to go to work, so we're going to do a comic strip for Polar. The first graphic novel and the Netflix movie with Mads Mikkelsen. All right.
It was a
so it's-
strange movie. Intermittently tries to do too much and not enough.
Hey, you skirt, toots, honey bear, go ahead and sell your wares.
Don't ever call me Toots.
That's the one you had a problem with? I called you a skirt, too.
Strangely enough, skirt sounds appropriate coming out of your mouth. Toots sounds derogatory. I can't explain it.
That's the craziest thing I've heard on this podcast tonight, but go ahead.
You two just recreating that scene from the first Turtles movie of Casey Jones and April O'Neil.
All right, yes, Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fashion meets fandom at the intersection of geek and chic. We just wrapped up our final appearance of the year at Planet Anime, and now it is time to buckle down and get ready for the Black Friday sale. Everything in both our handmade at Amazon and Etsy shops are going to be 25% off all throughout the weekend. And of course, Black Friday also kicks off our annual holiday charity drive. For every order placed from either shop, we will be donating $5 to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. We do this every year, and every year the donation gets bigger and bigger. So really hoping to see some really great orders so we can do a really big donation this year. We got a ton of stuff. You're probably noticing a lot of has-been hotel stuff, and yeah, that's been probably our biggest seller right now. So looking forward to talking about that tomorrow night, of course. As always, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, Screw You, Twitter, and TikTok. It's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, the intersection of geek and chic.
Robert Winfrey, tell us where we can find all of your internet writings and babblings.
I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. This last Saturday was UFC on ESPN Plus 123, the promotional debut in the country of Qatar. Turned out to be an okay card when it was all said and done because they got enough money as a site fee that they had to actually try, so they tried. I talk about that card on the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, where I also talk a little bit about the boxing results from the last week, which the ring had Turkey Al Sheikh's Riyadh season had a pretty decent ring 4 card. So that was fun. Jake Paul is signed to fight Anthony Joshua, and
that's going to be amazing. I can't wait to see Anthony Joshua throw that fight.
Unless he's getting enough to throw it, he's going to kill Jake Paul, and we will all cheer.
I'm sure the fix is in. They gave him a big sack of money with dollar signs on the bag.
I mean, this is not an exhibition. It's a for real fight. So if he does throw it, he's done in boxing.
What else was he going to do regardless?
Him and Tyson Fury are going to sell out Wembley. Like, that's still on the table.
Is it really? I thought Tyson Fury wasn't coming back. He'd gone back to his home planet.
No, it's Tyson Fury. He retires and then unretires like it's a bodily function.
Okay, if they're serious about putting Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury together, he has to kill Jake Paul.
Yeah.
If they're not doing that, There's nothing left for Anthony Joshua to do, and getting knocked out by Jake Paul affects him not at all.
He's not going to get knocked out by Jake Paul.
Well, he might like take a bump and like throw himself out of the ring.
No, he would lose. He would like walk around and lose a decision. He wouldn't get stopped.
I don't know. You got to talk to the booker, see what the finish is.
Considering it's on Netflix, that could go either way.
Anyway, I'll be TikTok live, baby. Woo!
So I talked a little bit about that. Some of the other news from the week, like the UFC has announced all of one event for 2026. The whole thing. I'll get into it later. Yeah, there is no UFC event this Saturday, but I will be covering WWE Survivor Series because no one else will.
Because Robert Winfrey is working in a coal mine.
You move 16 tons of professional wrestling crap, and what do you get? Yes, I'll be covering SmackDown on Friday, which is pre-taped, and I've seen the spoilers, and I am not looking forward to that. Then Survivor Series on Saturday, because this is like the third year in a row I've done this. I don't know why everyone else objects to this pay-per-view, but for some reason, every year they come to me. I am becoming an institution with the War Games.
You have always been an institution, Robert Winfrey.
Considering how long I've been there, I darn well better be. I looked that up the other day, and it's made me feel old.
You got to be there plus or minus 2010 because
my first
friendship, that podcast, are about the same age as my daughter.
Yeah, because I found my first written stuff from there because I saved it all, and I wrote it in late 2011.
Right.
So, yeah, that's where we are with all that. So I will be again covering that, and then next week will be Zootopia 2. Considering I was lukewarm on the original, I don't know how this one's going to go.
Before we end, really quick, really quick. Alexis, were you on the Zootopia podcast? You remember?
I don't think I was.
Okay. Robert, do you remember enough of that show? Because I'm just debating whether or not I want to pull up the transcript and throw a TikTok up about it. But did we say anything, do anything? Is it really like worth digging out of the archive to talk about on TikTok?
I don't remember too many things we talked about.
Like it might have just been like just a straight review, and in one of the rare instances where we both liked a movie.
We were both kind of again lukewarm to positive.
Maybe that's the hook. Hey, for all you assholes who think I don't like movies, I liked Zootopia too. All right, Zootopia.
That might be a hook if you wanted to shill it. I mean, the only gag I really remember from it is that the town that Judy comes from, the fact that it's all rabbits, so the population counter for it is just constantly going up. It's a ticker. It's like an odometer.
I like the first Zootopia. I think it actually had some of the best character development we've seen in an animated film in quite some time.
I think we said at the time it was one of the better Disney films that had been made around the time that it came out.
Probably.
And I know we're going to see that, and then we're going to go see Hoppers and say, "Sweet merciful Christ on a cracker." Remember when Pixar actually made good shit?
Second verse, same as the first.
Sorry, I saw the trailer for Hoppers, and all I could think was, you know how everyone says Avatar stole from everything? Well, what if we stole from Avatar?
Oh, God, is that what that is?
That's what
sort of.
Pretty much.
Ugh.
I gotta tell you, I'm also horribly disappointed in all of the stories that now take us like into the animal world, when all the animals are just humans.
Yeah.
Like, at least the wild robot had the sense that, like, okay, we're going to talk to the animals, we're going to personify them, but these are still animals. So the fox still tries to kill the rabbits.
Like they still have animal sensibilities as opposed to people in furry outfits.
I was going to say, Zootopia gets a pass for that with the way the animals
well, their
are
whole
portrayed.
thing is supposed to be anthropomorphized animals, but like this thing of, I will now project my consciousness into the robot and inhabit the world of the animals, and they're all just people with, Starbucks and complaining about traffic. Like, man, I miss Watership Down. That had the imagination to be like, okay, these are rabbits.
An even better, I think, more modern example of what you're talking about, but done well, it would be the Secret Life of Pets.
That's closer, yeah.
See, I think about that episode of Pinky and the Brain where Pinky gets the ability to talk to beavers.
I like to talk to beavers, so I'm going to go do that while and end this show. How's
Stop
that
with your
sound?
euphemisms.
You stop with my euphemisms. Why don't you fucking
I'm not
make me?
making them. I'm just pointing them out.
Why don't you leave your fucking house and come to Tampa and try to make me, tough guy?
I could.
I mean, you could do a lot of things.
I know, right?
All right. Well, thank you for joining us here on the Passive Aggressive Podcast. For Robert,
The threats of violence.
for Robert Winfrey, for Alexis, I have to now interact with TikTok. Be well, be safe, and behave.